What's the most socially accepted form of self-destruction?
Self-hatred and negative self-talk.
Indeed, sustaining that negative voice in your head all day really breaks down your self-worth and self-esteem. We're all flawed in many little and different ways. Try to be kind to yourself and others, if only for little things. I've been trying to do that for a while now, and it helps, and others will react more positively towards you, as well as helping you get a bit more positive bit by bit. I mean, yeah, but it allows me to go harder in the gym.
I once told my coach at the gym I'm not motivated by hearing, "You can do it." I need some old school drill sergeant motivation screaming how worthless I am because I can't get the weight up.
Sleep deprivation. Not many adults brag about the amount of alcohol they drink. At one point, that just isn't acceptable anymore. But so many can brag about sleeping less than the recommended hours. Like it's an achievement to be able to function on too little sleep. No, you're harming yourself, inducing stress to your body.
I have genuine sympathy for people who aren't doing that by choice, though. But if I know they're doing it by choice and trying to brag about only getting 2 hours of sleep a night, I'll just start bragging about how much sleep I'm getting. Slept 9 hours last night, and then I had a nap afterwards. I feel great.
Exactly this. I suffered 10 years of severe sleep disorders, and to an extent I still do. Not so quirky anymore when you black out on buses, ache during the walk to work, see pink elephants floating down the lecture room. Forget last year's entire vacation, lose relationships, or fail class, because your unconscious self breaks alarm clocks without you even knowing. You don't realize how critical your sleep is to daily function until you've been deprived of it for the better part of a decade.
Just get an alarm clock. B-word, by the time I get to sleep, an alarm clock isn't waking me. I once woke hours and hours after my alarm went off. It was still going off, 3 feet from my face, like a freaking siren, just deafeningly loud. Sleep disorder doesn't give a frick.
Yeah, I have to get someone to wake me up normally these days if I have to be up early. Suffering from depression and anxiety, with my antidepressants making me extra tired, and I've been a lifelong vivid dreamer, again, made worse by meds. I can regularly wake up with all of my alarms still going a foot from my head. Even weirder, I can wake up, turn off my alarms, fall back to sleep, and have absolutely no memory of doing it. A couple of times I've actually sent messages or written notes on a post-it note during the night and fallen back asleep. I've literally hallucinated when waking up multiple times. Waking up in the morning, I regularly dream or hallucinate university emails being sent to me, and read emails and reply to messages that don't exist, or just completely make up conversations with people, because I hallucinated and they said something else. At the same time as all of this, I can suffer from insomnia. I basically fall asleep easily when I shouldn't, but only sleeping tablets are helping me to sleep at night right now. People get so mad at me for being late or sleeping through alarms, and I just can't help it. It's not me being lazy. It's not me not caring. I genuinely can't control when I wake up, and my alarm isn't guaranteed to wake me up every time. I didn't wake up and decide to go back to sleep. I just sleep through everything. I'm just not, and likely never will be, someone who can easily wake up in the mornings. Oh gosh, I'm counting my lucky stars that I'm a big sleepy sheepdog of a person who can and will drop asleep anywhere and everywhere and sleep like a log, provided there isn't any special stress going on in my life. Overworking. It's lionized and not just socially accepted. Somehow, 12 or more hours a day in a cubicle has become a badge of honor. Working insane hours takes priority over family and health, at least until you drop dead. In Japan, older, burnt-out salarymen were sidelined to sit in a nicer office and not expected to do anything much but stare out of the window. In some ways, that seems worse than dropping dead.
Give me a nice office, no expectation to complete any task, a computer with internet, and I will mindlessly scroll through Reddit the whole way to retirement.
You'd think. I had this situation, and at first it was great, but after a year I'd come to the end of the internet and was losing my mind. I think if you were working from home it would be one thing, but having to trudge to the office every day to do nothing of value got old really quickly. I finally ended up quitting for a job where I actually get to do something. Get injured on the job in the US. As long as it clearly wasn't your fault, they can't fire you. But they will put you in a room to either do nothing at all or paperwork, and because many places have a policy of no cell phone use, you'll wish you were let go or actually died in the accident.
Alcohol.
Alcohol is the only self-harm that people look at you strangely for not participating in.
And they'll even bully you about it.
Yep, I've never smoked, toked, drank, or did any substances in my life, and it was only ever drinkers that got upset about that at all. Why not? Are you sick? Are you pregnant? What's wrong? On medication? Like, Shut the frick up for frick's sake, and let me drink my Diet Coke in peace. Yeah, I'm on 103 days of quitting alcohol, and the main reason I don't want to tell people is because I'm afraid they'll think something horrible happened. In reality, I'm just getting too old and busy for drinking and hangovers to fit into my life. I've always been so mind-blown at how alcohol is treated in our society, and the bias with alcohol versus other substances. If someone mentions smoking or using other substances, they're usually looked at as lowlives or addicts, and others judge them and act extremely concerned with their health and safety, and say how bad it is to do those things. And yet, those same people are always the ones who are going out to the bar every night, can't de-stress without having a drink, and always need to be drinking to have a good time. And they don't see anything wrong with their behavior. The amount I've learned in my 20s about how much alcohol truly affects your body is insane to me. Why do we normalize blacking out? You're pretty much overdosing on alcohol. Why do we normalize terrible hangovers? I just don't understand it. Why can people drink until they pass out in a bush and laugh about being blackout, and go to work the next day and never be tested for anything? But someone who smokes green herb on occasion is always at risk of failing a substance test and losing their job. It's crazy. Doom scrolling. Huh? Thanks, agreed. And that's enough Reddit for now. Control F4.
Huh? I see what you did there. You're still on Reddit, since Alt F4 is to force close. Sneaky, sneaky.
Alcohol, by a long shot, to the point where people who don't drink are considered sanctimonious outliers.
This is true. I don't drink and never have done. I'm 27, and honestly, the worst people for criticizing or becoming defensive were my parents' generation. People my age were pretty generally good about it, especially at uni, which really surprised me. But I'm still considered unusual, and many people my age do alcohol-based activities like clubbing, or bottomless brunches or bars, etc. I do think attitudes are changing, though.
I've been sober for more than 3 years, and my friends still routinely ask me, "You still not drinking?" Despite knowing that I quit because I had a problem. It's bonkers. I don't have a problem with anyone who drinks, so please don't have a problem with me not drinking. Besides, now you've got a sober driver and someone to pay attention to your kids when you get completely crap-faced at the beach.
Wondering if you're ugly.
The worst part is that some of the people who think about it the most are completely normal and not ugly, and some of them are even attractive. Maybe self-esteem issues, sadly. I can see how that's addictive. I just scroll through looking at pictures and reading comments for a good hour or so. At first I thought it was just hot women fishing for compliments, and there are some in there for sure. But reading the comments, there's a lot of people that genuinely believe they're ugly when they really aren't. It's quite sad. Mathletes. It's social suicide.
She doesn't even go here. That's so fetch. Stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
People have said great answers like overworking, lack of sleep, and perfectionism, but I'd like to add a more niche one: digital self-harm. Looking up things that horrify and scare you, or making you feel insecure, such as an eating disorder encouragement, or incel pages that tell you deserve pain, is a form of self-harm. I've noticed whenever I'm not doing well, I end up going down research rabbit holes about disease, war, horrible historical events, gore, and all that crap. It's interesting, and I justify it because it's interesting, but honestly, it just makes me feel more horrible. Self-harm isn't just physical. Sometimes if you have anxiety or depression, your mind wants something that makes you feel worse because it's trying to seek out a reason why you feel so bad. It's true, once I was feeling like crap, full-on having anxiety attacks, and ended up looking up methods of taking my life online. Not to try those methods, just to horrify myself out of my mental state. 10 out of 10 would not recommend. It's such a strange urge. It made so much sense once I realized it was simply my head trying to find a reason I felt so bad, because it was distressing that the reason was simply mental illness.
A lack of sleep.
Overeating.
Overeating and eating an unhealthy diet. It's like the #1 public health problem in America. And yet I see so many stories about over-exercising here instead.
There are at least 5 stories further on that are some form of exercising. How is obesity or overeating not higher on the list?
Well, maybe the fact that it's not recognized here means that it fits the title.
Working night shift. Underrated answer. I worked the night shift for 2 years. I barely saw my wife or my friends or my family. It was hard to function. Things like going to the dentist or the bank became a huge hassle. The crazy swing of getting back on your day schedule for your days off so you can see people, then back to overnights, puts so much stress on your body.
I'm a night owl and I function best after midnight. I can relate with your problems for sure.
This is the comment I was looking for. Although nights are a lot better to work as they're quiet and you get a lot of money. They are horrible for your mental and physical health though. You barely sleep, barely see your friends and family. You have to constantly cancel things as you're physically not able to go as you're drained away. I'm on year 20 of nights, and no way I could get away with half the crap I do on day shift. Yep, even on my freelancer schedule, I push myself so hard to get all of my work done on a regular 9-to-5 schedule, because I remember what I turned into as a guy who stayed up all night working, and I don't want to go there again, thank you. Not leaving a marriage due to social stigmas surrounding divorce or the otherwise religious implications holding you there. Stop delaying happiness due to what other people's expectations of a good person are. You're not exercising duty by staying in a toxic relationship, you're self-harming. On that tack, there's also getting married. People need to know that it's okay to be alone and not lonely. I wish more people understood this. I haven't been in a relationship in 7 years and it's by choice. I still do fun things and spend time with friends, but having a relationship just to have someone is not a priority. Meanwhile, my coworkers and people at church keep hinting that the right one will come along soon. Ugh. You can submit your own stories to be featured here on the channel. The story submission link is in the description below. And if you want to listen to some vibey music in the background, check out easymode, also linked below, and subscribe. Extreme exercise. Almost every ultra runner I know is an addict that traded drinking or substances for running. As someone who traded drinking for lifting and then had to learn to moderate that, I've never been less surprised by anything. I'm a food addict, which is part of why I took up ultra running. I guess that's a little better than drinking or substances. I feel bad for any alcoholic taking up this sport, as beer is very much a part of the culture. I dislike beer, so this makes it weird for me. There are even beer mile runs, where you drink as much beer as you can, usually at several stops along the mile. Aid stations will often have Fireball or other shots late at night. Many races are expected to serve beer at the finish line. You can't really get away from it. I was about to give you crap for saying this, but then I quickly realized you're 100% correct. Training hard and working hard for health and fitness is okay, but there are countless people destroying themselves through exercise, ego lifting, a crappy diet, and performance-enhancing substances. A lot of extreme athletes are actually too fit, with heart rates so low that they're at risk of a heart failure. Yeah, past a certain point, exercise isn't healthy in the conventional sense. High-level athletes, bodybuilders, and others are really pushing their bodies past their natural limits. Mind you, the huge majority of non-professionals never reach this point. So if anyone's reading these comments thinking, so it's healthier to not exercise? No, that's absolutely not the takeaway. Just do everything in moderation. Spending time on Reddit. But that's not even socially accepted. Without using the third-party apps. Plastic surgery. I don't know why we can't admit as a society that social media causes body image issues, that body trends change due to what's seen as popular in that moment, but plastic surgery doesn't fix your self-esteem. Like 90% of the time, cosmetic work gets done due to what you're seeing praised in the media, but when people do it, everyone just responds as long as you're happy. Like, bro, what? That person's body isn't the issue, it's the media. They didn't actually fix anything. That's why so many people who get surgery get it on a repeat basis, because they're never truly satisfied. Sugar. I need to start cutting it out as I know that that's why I'm slightly larger and unhealthier than I want to be, but it's so gosh darn addictive and I hate sweeteners. It's obviously supposed to be addictive and it works so well. It's not just you that's addicted, it's the bacteria in your gut. A diet rich in sugars selects for populations of bacteria that crave sugar, and you experience their cravings. Good news is, you can starve them by reducing sugar consumption and replace them with bacteria that prefer other foods. Overeating or drinking. Alcohol, the only substance that you have to explain why you're not taking it. Going through something and going around like nothing happens to you because you're a man. This is real. I was raised by one of those manly men and thought it was how it was supposed to be. Therapy and allowing myself to feel saved my marriage. Hooch or suntanning, perhaps? The tanning thing is so weird. I visited my family a couple of weeks ago and they were laughing at me because I put sunscreen on my legs before I went for a hike. They were literally saying, "But we're not going to the beach." Then my mum told me I looked good because I'd caught the sun over the weekend at a wedding I went to. When I said, "Yeah, that's not good, I only had a hat but no sunblock," she told me I should be trying to get a tan. She's well aware I've had multiple precancerous lesions removed from my face, and we're genetically at a very high risk of melanoma. That's not tanning, that's just getting vitamin D, which is indeed very healthy. If you do it in a tanning salon or studio, it is tanning. Nail biting. Yeah, but especially when you bite to the point of pain or bleeding. I used to do this. I finally broke the habit by keeping my nails trimmed very short and filed. I catch myself every once in a while biting a nail, so I get the clippers out and cut off what's irritating me. Oh yeah, I know an entire family that has had to buy an economy-size box of nail files because if they don't have their nails sanded down to the pink, they'll absently start biting away unconsciously the moment they begin thinking of anything. Crazy. I also think it's over-exercising. As a child, I frequently hurt myself due to depression and other issues. It's been years now and I don't cut myself anymore, but whenever I feel upset, I will exercise to the point that my muscles will cramp and my body will bruise. When I do this, nobody tells me that I should get help, but instead they compliment me and say how much better I've gotten. It's true I've gotten better, but self-harm differs in so many ways, and this is just one of those ways. If your large muscles are genuinely bruised through exercise, you definitely need help. That can lead to life-changing health problems or even death. Is it really like that, or do you just do extreme workouts randomly and just get super sore because you don't work out regularly? I mean, if I don't do heavy squats for a month and then knock out multiple sets at heavy weights, I can barely sit down for the next 2 days. Watching adult flicks. It depends on who you are though. Some people can enjoy it without getting addicted, but it can ruin other people's lives. It's probably way worse of a problem than most people think, at least as easily available and pervasive as it is. I remember stumbling across one of those hot games sites back in the early 10s. Embarrassing to say the least, but looking back, it's a miracle I didn't get hacked and had info stolen. Then there's the links to the weird stuff. Stuff that could really put the differences between atheists and Christians aside. People forget that stuff can get really dark and harmful, especially to the dumb hormonal kids who don't know any better. I have the aching suspicion it'll be our generation's cigarettes. I think a lot of people aren't really informed about what addiction actually means. It's not harmful to you if it doesn't bother you in your life in any way. Everything else is just Christian purity bullcrap. I think a lot of people assume that it isn't harmful if it doesn't have an obvious negative impact on your life, because adult flicks have never been this accessible until maybe 15 years ago. The full effects are not well studied or understood. The main harm that I've read is how it can condition you to expect a very intense degree of arousal, but without any of the other factors that come with doing the deed, mainly things like touch or vulnerability. Again, it isn't incredibly well studied, and the stuff I did read didn't find that degree of conditioning to be widespread. Social media. Surprised this isn't higher up. It's like self-harm for the mind. It has terrible physical effects as well. Like hunchback. My brother in Christ, you're saying this on a social media app. Don't throw stones. Smoking cigarettes. This is the obvious answer, I think. Certainly it would have been in my youth. One of the best things that has happened in the US in my life is the decline in smoking, especially public smoking. Smoke used to be everywhere. Ugh. Getting fat. The source? Me. I didn't have the balls to take my own life quickly, so I aimed to kill myself slowly with cake, chips, and ice cream. Joke's on me though. A few years of hedonism was good for perspective after a stress-induced breakdown. Health took quite a massive hit, but at least I'm still here to recognize that, and the rebuild over recent years has been quite pleasant. It sounds like you found a way to survive during a difficult time, and you should feel proud of how far you've come, instead of feeling shame for what you went through. Oh, shame is my whole bit, unfortunately. Toxic self-talk has been a constant wrestle, but a strong routine helps against these things. It's now 4:30 a.m. and I'm about to make my way to the gym. Your progress is awesome. It's really hard to stay away from really unhealthy things. It gets pushed in your face everywhere, and it's designed to make us like it. The same with booze. It's everywhere, although it's super dangerous if consumed too much, just because some very powerful people make a lot of money on this stuff. Good on you for getting better, even with the obstacles. I used to get my dopamine from ice cream, and now I'm diabetic. Yay! I banned myself from Ben & Jerry's. It's too gosh darn sweet. Overworking and self-deprecation. Starvation. Eating disorders. Being thin is literally a beauty standard, and it's incredibly unhealthy. Having a dangerously low BMI is just as unhealthy as being morbidly obese. Eating disorders are literally the deadliest mental health diagnoses, in part due to all the comorbidities, and yet people idolize and glorify thinness to an unreasonable degree. Gym bros and their insane diets that are genuinely just eating disorders. No one actually wants to eat 2,000 calories of plain chicken and rice. I like chicken and rice. I really enjoy my steady diet based on the same main dishes every day. For me, it was diced chicken breast with salt and some Italian-style dry seasoning, plain rice with a splash of olive oil, and a side of whatever frozen vegetables were cheap at the moment. I'd have oatmeal for breakfast, then 2 big chickens during the day and some eggs in the evening. Day after day after day, the same things. It was great, so efficient and so easy to prepare. I don't bother counting and gym broing anymore, but still chicken rice is something I eat a lot. That sounds a lot better than just plain chicken and rice. Yeah, efficient and quick meals are very nice. Chicken and spicy rice, like Nando's style, is my favorite meal, but I cannot imagine a giant plate full of plain and likely unseasoned chicken with just plain rice. I had that when I had bad flu as a kid, and I would never want to eat it outside of that. Unrestrained consumption of processed food, obsession with reality shows, and an overusage of technology. Dieting. Not all diets, of course, but 1,000-calorie ones, or diets that completely cut off big food groups, or insane stuff like juice diets, are a straight way into eating disorders. Speaking from experience. Self-sabotage. Not sure if it counts, though. Almost all of the answers are about self-destructive behaviors, not self-harming. Deliberate injury to oneself, typically as manifestation of a mental condition, is self-harm. Things like sugar, etc. aren't self-harm. Using so-called social media. Voting Tory. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories, or if you want some vibey music to put on in the background, check out easymode. If you like Am I the Genius, give Am I the Jerk a shot. Everything linked in the description.